Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. Tonight's show is certainly about a bright star, because if you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you would know that it's all about a wonderful solar eclipse in Taurus that we're having tomorrow, and that's why the title of the show is Swift Change Due to a Loss. And the reason why there can be a loss somewhere around that you may be affected by under this solar eclipse in Taurus is because there are some potent planets in the sign of Taurus, and they are being harshly aspected. And Taurus is a fixed financial sign, and that is why there can be some sort of loss, and it might be financial, and it may necessitate a very swift change in your life. It would be a successful swift change though, but unfortunately it would be due to a loss, and that is because the sun and new moon tomorrow are at 20 degrees in Taurus, and Mars is at 15 degrees in Taurus, so it's conjuncting the sun and new moon, and Mercury is at 18 degrees of Taurus. So all four planets are very compact within the constellation of Taurus, and that can heighten their impact. And so Mars simply does rule greed and aggression, even war, and it even rules revenge. And it certainly is not happy in a sign ruled by Venus, which is what rules Taurus. And so there can be somebody who's very desperate about money right now, or else very greedy. And there can be bad news about their situation, or else about whatever they're doing to try to solve it, because Mercury rules news, and it is conjunct Mars and the new moon and the sun as well. And that's why I think there can be some bad news that can represent financial difficulties. There certainly can be a swift change coming up, but it's beautifully aspected because the sun and new moon are at 20 degrees of Taurus, and right ahead of them is Jupiter, that planet of wonderful goodness, also exactly at 20 degrees in Gemini. And the ruler of Taurus, Venus, is also in Gemini now. It just entered that sign. So those two good planets are in the sign that rules communication and change and smooth transitions. So if you have to make a swift change due to a financial difficulty, you are going to be able to do that. And it would be something that might be temporary, or it might be something that just represents a part-time effort, or something where you have to sort of make some sort of change or transition, but you will be able to do it. It might not last forever, but at least that would be a good way to handle a financial difficulty this week. Or since a solar eclipse can last for 6 months, it could be any time in the next 6 months. So there can be bad news about a financial matter also, because those four planets in Taurus are being harshly opposed by Saturn in Scorpio, which is the other financial sign. And Scorpio rules financing. It rules credit and debt and loans and taxes, and it rules inheritance matters or money coming in from any other source, such as a grant or insurance proceeds, since Scorpio rules the whole medical field and the insurance field, and it rules the military. So there can be such a tremendous standoff right now between the harshness of Mars in Taurus being opposed by Saturn in Scorpio, that there certainly are going to be financial difficulties somewhere, and whether it's in your household or not, you could still be affected by it in general, particularly if you have investments in the New York Stock Exchange, which is ruled by Taurus. And so there's going to be a lot of activity centered around some sort of financial standoff or fight right now about money. And the reason why is because there isn't enough of it. And some people are greedier than others, or more desperate than others, or much more overextended. And those are the ones that can be in big trouble right now. And that could even include governments as well. What can you do about it? Well, it's wonderful, as I said, that Jupiter is at the very same degree as the solar eclipse tomorrow, but it's in Gemini. And so with Jupiter and Venus, the planet of love and compromise and partnership, in Gemini as well, it simply means that there can be a lot of people that can compromise about something right now if they want to, or if you needed to make a slight change, or if you had to move in with the relatives, or if you had to downsize a little bit in your neighborhood, or you just wanted to simplify your life in some way, you really could do it right now. Maybe it would be just for the summer. Maybe it would be something where you're helping somebody else out. Because in this time of financial standoff and arguments, I don't think that anybody is going to be unaffected by a financial fallout right now unless they have absolutely no debt at all. And if you are a person that doesn't owe a bill to anybody, then what you should be doing is sitting on the sidelines during this time of immense financial pressure. And the bottom line is there isn't enough money anymore. Why isn't there enough money? Because there aren't enough jobs. And if people don't have jobs, they don't have money, and therefore economies can fall. And that's what is happening. There is almost a domino effect everywhere in the world. So even if your country had a strong economy, it is being affected by other economies that are weaker and can be dragging your economy down as well. So on a global scale, that can be happening. And how it can affect you is that it can either affect your bank account because there can be increased charges, or it can affect your taxes because they can be higher, or it can affect your employer, who can then have to do something dramatic in order to stay afloat. And so all of us may have to be making some sort of swift change due to a loss that can be coming up. But the wonderful thing about it is that the swift change can go very smoothly. So I hope that you don't try to hang on to a sinking ship, but instead you try some sort of adjustment right now, because that is aspected to work out really well. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, I think that you can be, if you have been involved in anything expensive, or if you're a little bit overextended or overcommitted, and there is some sort of financial difficulty in your life, or even, as I said, with your employer or with a government agency or a large corporation right now, you may have to make a swift change. That's fine with you, I'm sure, because the planet of sudden change, Uranus, is in your sign, Aries, so you could really make a quick change if you wanted to. And also, the planets in Gemini, Venus and Jupiter, are sextiling your sun. So any kind of smooth transition that you want to make right now would really be easy for you. And I suggest that you do it, because anyone could have financial difficulties right now. They may not even be your fault, Aries. They could be somebody else's, like your banks. Or there is the possibility that there can be a major hacking into a lot of banks, and that could create all kinds of identity theft and problems that way. So, I mean, the sky is the limit as far as financial difficulties go right now. If you are overextended, everyone who is will have a little bit of trouble paying their bills right now, and that is because the bill is due. That's what it means when Saturn in Scorpio is opposing all the planets in Taurus. And since Mars, your ruler, is right ahead of your sign in Taurus, there can be some bad news that can affect you one way or another, Aries, and it would have something to do with finances. And that is why, if you wanted to make a swift change, you really could do that. And I don't hold on to anything. Go ahead and make that change first if you can, just so that you can sort of stay afloat. Okay, what does it mean to Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when that solar eclipse tomorrow is really going to affect you, because of course it's in your sign. So the sun and the new moon will be in your sign tomorrow, and Mars is there closely conjuncting both of those planets, and Mercury is too. And so that can represent some sort of bad news about a financial matter, and it can affect you. And that is because you may have an investment that is either worth less, or that is somehow costing you more. That could be because the taxes have gone up. Or it can simply be that you yourself are a little overextended and your employer could be downsizing at the moment, and that might affect you. Even though Pluto in Capricorn is trining your sun, so that makes 5 planets in Earth signs right now, I don't think that it is enough to override the effect of Saturn in Scorpio opposing the 4 planets in your sign, Taurus, which represent that the bill is due. And no matter how many favors people offer to do for you, there is somebody around who's insisting on high standards and strict rules that have to be followed now. And if you do not qualify at the level that they are requiring, you would maybe have to scramble a little bit in order to cover all of your bases right now. And anybody who has been gambling in any way is probably going to be caught now, and there could be a fallout from that as well. So you really need to protect yourself, and the only way that I can think that would do you a good in a really short time is if you made a swift change, because Jupiter and Venus are in Gemini right ahead of your sun sign, and Gemini rules buying and selling. I would not buy right now, Taurus. I would sell, sell, sell. And no matter what price you get for something, at least that would give you a little extra cash to cover your bases, and I think you might need to do that. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, lucky you. It doesn't mean that you escape financial difficulties, because if there's a bill due, yes, you'll have to face that as well. But the smooth change or the easy transition is what you do best anyway, and you have both wonderful planets, Venus and Jupiter, in your sun sign, and they will both remain there until the end of June. And so change is the name of the game for you, Gemini, and if you don't go through some sort of swift change right now, I don't know why you would not do that, because this is a time when you can advertise and promote and buy and sell and rent and communicate very effectively and positively with everyone. In fact, you can increase your popularity simply by marketing yourself a little bit better, Gemini. So this is a golden opportunity for you, or a golden window of time between now and June 26th. And by golden, I mean it isn't going to happen like this for another 12 years. And that is why, if you're thinking where you want to be 10 or 12 years from now, now is the time to make the change to set yourself up for that, Gemini. And so I urge you to make a change that will not only be easy for you, but will really make you a lot happier. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, while a lot of people who are overextended or just have high costs right now, or who can be subject to financial difficulties or bad financial news, not through their own fault, but maybe through association with others that are having problems, well, all of that is going on right now. And while the message is the bill is due, and that is because the 4 planets in Taurus are being opposed by Saturn in Scorpio, so there's too much a danger and pressure in these financial signs, and something has to give. While all that's going on, Cancer, I don't think you're going to be affected, and that's pretty unusual. But the reason why is that Saturn in Scorpio is trining your sun along with Neptune in Pisces, and so you could have information from behind the scenes and from people who are very sympathetic to you, so there could be a little cushion of friendship there. And also Saturn in Scorpio, because it's trining your sun, means that you have some money that has been either delayed or withheld. It's somewhere else, and it can be supporting you, so you have a financial cushion as well. However, the 4 planets in Taurus are sextile your sun. If there is any kind of a crash or financial difficulties, I don't think that it is necessarily going to hurt you, Cancer, but that would be very unusual. If you have been gambling on anything, you're going to get hurt that way. But Venus and Jupiter are now in Gemini right behind your sun sign, so you have protection behind the scenes, and you could make a swift change without anybody even seeing you do it. So I think that this is not necessarily an escape-proof time for you, but it is a time when you have a lot of backup. And if you need to use it, it's there. And that is good, because other people are going to be under much more pressure than you are, Cancer. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, This is a time when you don't have an inch. You don't have any room to move at all. And in fact, you will have to make a swift change. And the reason why you're going to have to do that is because you can be really squeezed right now financially. And it doesn't even mean that you yourself are a bad money manager, although if you have, your sign does rule gambling. And if you have been gambling on anything, Leo, now is when you're going to have to pay up because you lose. And the reason why is that this solar eclipse is very powerful. The Sun, Moon, Mars, and Mercury are all square your Sun, and Saturn in Scorpio is also square your Sun. So if you've been betting on anything, the bet is off or it's overdue and you'll have to pay up, and I don't think you'll have the financial resources to cover yourself. And that's what I mean by you just don't have any room to move right now. However, if you were at a point where you were wanting to enlarge your business, for instance, or go in a new direction and you needed additional financing, you couldn't get that either right now. Not necessarily because you're not credit worthy, but because others don't have the money. The problem is there isn't enough money anymore because revenues are shrinking globally. And sooner or later that affects all of us. So the only people that are going to get through this are the people that don't owe anybody any money, and they maybe have some sort of a financial cushion that they can fall back on right now, but that may not be you, Leo. And so this is a time when you really have to pull back as much as you can, and yet you too can make a swift change because Venus and Jupiter in Gemini are sextiling your Sun. So there can be an opportunity either for you or somebody who's in financial difficulties right now that you may know to make some sort of easy transition or swift change, and you might be able to help them with that, or they may be able to help you. But this is a time when you really need to face your finances, Leo, because there's just no getting away from the point that there isn't enough money anymore. And that means that you're really going to have to adjust in one way or another, and a swift change would be a good idea for you. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, for you, I think that there is another way that the financial difficulties that are requiring swift change right now can be affecting you. First of all, I don't think that they're actually going to land on your doorstep. In other words, I don't think that there will be a personal financial difficulty that you have, but you certainly could be involved with an employer or an investment that has sort of changed in one way or another due to high taxes, or maybe due to the fact that the revenues are shrinking on an investment. Still, I don't think that you're vulnerable right now, and the reason why is there are 5 planets all trining your Sun, Virgo, and one of them is your ruler. So in tomorrow's solar eclipse, the Sun, Moon, Mars, and Mercury will all be trining your Sun, and that simply means that bad financial news in some way will have a positive effect on you. And I think that the way that that will happen is that somebody who is in a financial jam, and this could be an employer, or it could be a government, or it could be a corporation, may ask you for help. And so I think that a problem could land on your doorstep. I don't think it's your problem though. And the reason why someone could ask you for your input is because your sign rules lean management, and it rules good time management, it rules accounting. And so you are a very careful, detail-oriented person, and you may be, since problem solving is something you do well, you may be called on to help solve some financial difficulties right now. So that would actually represent a sort of a feather in your cap, or maybe even a raise and a promotion, simply because you're one of the few people that could come up with some good guidance and good answers right now. Pluto in Capricorn is also trining your Sun, which means that management can be turning to you. Perhaps they didn't listen the first time you were talking to them, but they could be real willing to listen right now, Virgo. And so that's why I think you do benefit even if the news is bad right now. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, lucky you. Your ruler, Venus, is now in a beautiful angle to your sun sign, and it's going to stay that way until the end of June, Libra. So I would certainly try to get out and socialize and mingle and get to know other people. In other words, network, Libra, because people are going to love to see you. You're going to be very popular, but also you can pick up a lot of good news and a lot of good tips right now. And there are different directions that you can go in, and you can be involved in a swift change right now. So regardless of your financial position or your financial difficulties, with both Venus and Jupiter in Gemini trining your sun, Libra, I think that you are really going to be blessed right now with people coming and offering help to you if you need it, or counseling, or else you are simply going to be able to take on more projects right now, and they would be creative and they would tend to make you happy. In fact, there could be a little romantic element involved in all of that, Libra. So this is wonderful, and it is a golden time of opportunity for you to establish wonderful relationships. It may require a swift change or a smooth transition, but you can really do that right now, Libra, and that would be a good thing. It would certainly make you happier, and it would bring you peace as well. So I wish you luck. All right, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when I think you're really going to feel the heat right now. And in a way, I think that you are capable of almost taking a beating from somebody. Well, first of all, I think you could take a beating from somebody, and the problem is you might get one right now. And it could be financial, Scorpio, or it could be prompted by someone who is very jealous or is seeking revenge right now. And I would advise you to stay out of their way. So if you sense that there is a vengeful enemy around or somebody who's very jealous, you need to head in the other direction, Scorpio, because remember, an opposition occurs when planets are the furthest apart they can be. They're 180 degrees apart, and that is what is happening with Saturn in your sign opposing the solar eclipse and Mars and Mercury tomorrow in Taurus. And so I think there can be swift change prompted by financial difficulties. I'm not necessarily thinking that you have financial difficulties, Scorpio, but you could get a little bit dumped on by other people who have them, because in their desperation they could lash out at anyone. And if you're insisting on sticking to high standards of credibility, particularly financial credibility, then somebody who hasn't been doing that could be a little bit upset because they would find out, someone would find out they'd been cooking the books or faking it. And so this is just simply a time when you have to really stand tall, and no matter what somebody throws at you, don't worry, Scorpio, you are not going to keel under it. You could just get tired, but nobody's going to knock you down. This is just going to be a time when you are going to have to weather a storm. But I think that you'll do that beautifully. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius, this is simply a time when I think that the good things can leave you. Venus and Jupiter in Gemini are opposing your sun sign, and so that means that someone else may be able to make a swift change that can certainly be the result of financial difficulties. If they were doing that, they may or may not take you with them, Sagittarius. So actually what you have to do is you have to try to latch on to somebody else who's making a change right now, and that way you can sort of piggyback with them, and that may help you out a little bit, because right now I think that you're a little bit vulnerable to financial problems behind the scenes that are rather old, and they won't go away. And so this is a time when you really are going to just have to, you're going to have to try some sort of swift change in conjunction with somebody else who can do that rather easily, and just write it out with them if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is simply a time with that solar eclipse tomorrow trining your sun sign that you are going to be very, very lucky in being able to deal with a financial difficulty. I'm not so sure that you're going to have one, because Capricorn is the sign of frugality, and generally you don't get overextended. So this may be a time when you're sitting on the sidelines, Capricorn, as other people are going through a period of time when they have to make a swift change. You may not have to, but I think everyone is going to have to cut back a little bit. And because others are having financial difficulties, that could impact you or slow you down a little bit right now, but I don't think it'll stop you. So I don't think you're hurt, but this may not be a time when you can move forward either. So I think you should just bide your time, Capricorn. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is simply a time when I think you too, just like Leo, are caught between a rock and a hard place because Saturn in Scorpio is squaring your sun, and the Sun, Moon, Mars, and Mercury are also squaring your sun tomorrow under the Taurus eclipse. And so I don't think that your financial difficulties can necessarily be solved right now. Maybe a lot of people's can't be solved right now. But with Venus and Jupiter in Gemini trining your sun, you really can make a swift change right now, Aquarius, and I urge you to do that. Do not go down with a sinking ship. Go ahead and make some new friends or do something on a temporary basis. It doesn't have to be forever, but it could make you very popular and certainly open up a new window of opportunity for you. So I hope you follow up on that. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is simply a time when I think that if you're not careful, you could get drawn into other people's financial difficulties. You too might have some, but I don't think that they're personal. After all, Saturn in Scorpio has been trining your sun for a long time, but that Saturn is besieged right now under tomorrow's solar eclipse because all those planets in Taurus are opposing it. And so the people that have been supporting you in the background may have troubles of their own right now, Pisces, and you must not act too fast right now because you could jump into some hot water if you try a quick financial fix. What you ought to do is calm down a little bit, Pisces, and try to give comfort to people who have comforted you in the past, and try just sort of to remain steady right now because the planets in Taurus do sextile your sun. So even if there were financial difficulties prompted by somebody else, including an employer, they may not necessarily affect you, Pisces, unless you overreact. So I urge you not to do that. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show anytime you want on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.